Here we are with another episode of Unbuttoned. We've got Mike.
Here we are.
Mike, you're a band member, singer, songwriter, band guitarist.
I am a lead singer in a hard rock band called IONSKY.
Hey,
Yeah, hard rock.
hard rock,
Yeah, not soft rock.
not soft cock.
Not today. No, we're in a hard rock band.
Did you say you wanted a drink?
I'd love a drink.
Do you want a lime or watermelon sparkling water?
Oh, lime's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice and refreshing drink.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because I know that on the podcast, because we're like talking, like we get like dry
Get the
mouth.
dries, and I chew gum, which is like I'm kind of like a cow, but they're always chewing.
Chewing grass.
Yeah, that's right.
So how did you get into being a lead singer for a hard rock band?
Well, that's a good question, Andrew. I was a drummer since I could pretty much walk. So
Right.
from a toddler,
Yeah.
I'd hit the pots and pans, and my mum was a massive influence on my music.
Right.
And because she'd play music in the house, like on the weekends and that sort of thing while she was cleaning the house, and I'd just be crawling around pots and pans making more mess.
Love you, mum.
Yeah. We all love our mums.
Yeah.
And so I had quite an eclectic taste of music from a young age because she'd play anything from Michael Jackson to the Eagles to, Michael Bolton.
Yeah.
To
Sting.
Rod Stewart.
Phil Collins.
Phil Collins was a
Yeah,
big one.
yeah.
So from a very young age, I heard all these sounds. And, I played drums right up to my teens.
Yeah.
And then I had a little break for a couple of years. Just, at the end of high school. And I also used to write songs. So I used to write songs from a young age as well. I remember, I think from the age of 8, I was about 8 years old, I wrote my first song. Like full lyrics.
Wow.
Melody at 9, which doesn't sound... I think the content of the song was, it's called Rich Man.
Right.
And the lyrics were, I don't have no money, but I'm a rich man. I don't
Right.
have a car, but I'm a rich man. And I why does an 8, 9-year-old, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
And I think at that point in my life, I was starting to get in tune with that material stuff doesn't matter as long as you've got this.
Yeah. At 9.
At 9.
Possibly you were very consciously aware of like your surroundings, and then you internalized and you like came up with this song and these lyrics to kind of like be able to express, yourself in terms of like the appreciation of what you had,
I was always, as a child, as far as back as I can remember, I was always very appreciative of things. I wasn't, most kids are like, I want that. But I was always appreciative if I got like a tiny toy or something like that. And I remember we got to...
Fuck, I gotta let this cat in.
Eyes as a cat.
I accidentally shut him outside.
That's all right. We're surrounded by legends.
He's the skittish.
Oh, yeah, right. He's in and out. He's like, see ya.
Yeah.
See you fuckers later.
I didn't realize he was outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you come across like you've got this energy of being really quite humble.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think from like that young age, and I think we all have it. When people say they're lost because, we'll get into the story, but I was told by a psychologist after I had a major trauma incident happened in my life.
Mm.
I said, what did you like doing as a kid?
Mm.
And I said, I loved music. I just loved playing music. I loved playing Lego. But what made me tick was music. It was always music.
Mm.
It just felt it calm. I felt calm around music and being around music. And the other thing was, funnily enough, excavators, like big earth-moving material. I love that stuff.
Right.
And because I used to make a living from music, like that was what I did. And when COVID hit, that stopped. And it didn't just stop for me, it stopped for the industry.
Yeah, it's stopped for a lot of people, I think.
For a lot of people. But it hasn't come back to where it used to be. So I had to adapt and find something else. So I said, well, because I tried a lot of things, and then I said, well, what do you like? And I went back to my childhood. I'm like, I used to like diggers. So I ended up getting an excavator license and a truck license. And a friend of mine got me a job with a company. And yeah, straight in the seat and doing excavator work.
Yeah, I think that's just like it's a true testament to like your character of like being able to adjust, you know, and realizing that like the industry is not bouncing back as fast as it can, and stuff. But I want to go back and touch on like when you were younger, and like the inspiration of like your mum playing lots of music and things like that. Why did you choose drumming?
I think as far back as I can remember, I think it was more, it's what came naturally. And it was also an outlet for me. I don't know if I had, I don't know if I have ADHD or not. I know other family members possibly do, but I think it was just an outlet for me I could feel rhythm. Yeah. From a young age. Yeah. Whereas if you asked me to remember lyrics of a song, which is there's a really funny story behind that, but like, I think the rhythm thing worked for me. It just was natural. It was like, you know, the thing that comes naturally. The guitar is not natural. Yeah. You can ask Aaron Shembry when I played guitar with him. we did the thing. He's like, I tuned to a weird tuning. You tune normal, okay? Because weird tuning's the only thing that works for me because I only have to hit a few strings. So hang on.
What's weird tuning?
Yeah, it's called dadgad. So it's pretty much called dadgad, and there's a lot of songs that are written in dad. Yeah, DADGAD. Right. But I've written a few songs in dadgad, so it works. So yeah, it was one of those things. So drums, I think drums just came naturally. I felt it. Yeah. But also singing did. Yeah.
So you so you started up drumming, and then at what age did you like stop for a little bit?
I was 17.
17. Okay, so the kind of like impressionable years.
Those years.
Like, you had other priorities.
There were other priorities that came up at that age that needed to be attended to. It was.
Yes, they did need to be attended to.
They need to be attended to. So and that was the thing. But music was always, there was always an urge to get back into playing drums. Yeah. But I'll just go hell for leather and just tell you, I ended up. I was probably when it got to 19. I was in a relationship that I thought this is the girl I was going to marry. Mm-hmm. And she was everything that I had.
Of course.
I had pictured that's what it was going to be. Yeah. Because I used to watch movies like Roadhouse and with Patrick Swayze and that sort of thing. So it was
Dirty Dancing and.
Have you watched Roadhouse? With Patrick Swayze? I'm going to send it to you.
I think I have ages ago. Yeah.
It's a killer movie.
Yeah.
But there was a blonde starlet in that movie, and it's like typical. And I'm not being sexist. I'm just saying it was just as a teenager growing up and seeing that on the screen is like, wow, she's really beautiful. And you project that when you're looking, like I was like, oh, if she's blonde, it's kind of I projected that.
Yeah,
and that's what
it's
happened.
impressionable.
Yeah,
you know, like you watch these things and then it's like they really stick in your mind.
Yeah, and it stuck in my mind because I was a teenager with hormones.
Yeah,
and then when I did meet that girl, who I went out with for a couple of years and I fell in love. Yeah, and then got cheated on. And that was like one of those life lessons. This is what happens. This is what being hurt feels like. And there's rage and so many different things that go through your mind. But when you look back on it after 20 years, you look back and you go, that was just a little lesson. And you just shake your head and go, okay.
Did you just say 20 years? You don't look like that was 20 years ago.
Oh, you're so kind. It was 20 years ago.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Look okay for...
Yeah. You look great.
Over 40.
Yeah. Over 40?
Over 40.
Oh. Oh, well, welcome.
I've got good genes.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. You?
Yeah.
Really? No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, way.
I would have said maybe 30s, maybe.
Oh, you are too kind.
No, I'm being serious.
Yeah, no, I actually get that a lot. I get it a lot. It's the genes.
These genes, sometimes when the genes spread, sometimes the good ones just like stick together.
Yeah.
And then like my mum's she's mum's in her 70s and people think that she's like late 50s. She looks amazing.
That means you got your mum's genes.
I reckon my brother did. I've got a mixture. They say I look a little bit like my mum and a little bit like my dad.
Right. Okay.
Dad's he was a good looking rooster too. He's a good looking rooster. He's a man's man.
Yeah.
Mum's just like she's beautiful.
I've got an older sister and a younger brother, and growing up, like when I was a lot younger, I was the most Asian looking one because my mum's Indonesian.
Right.
She's Dutch, Chinese, Indonesian, and then my dad was like Australian, Irish, Welsh.
Yeah, right.
And so, like growing up, like I really did feel like I kind of like stuck out. But now that I'm older, so I'm 45 this year.
Wow.
Now that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, boy,
I've got it.
I fucking got the genes.
Yeah, you do. You look great, man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't drink because I can't because I'm allergic to alcohol. Thanks to my mum, she can't drink either.
It's not a bad thing to be allergic to.
Yeah, and just like look after yourself and eat healthy and
Not what I did after our tour show the other week. I was really healthy up to it, and then like literally after the show, we were packed up and we were driving home. It was like Macca's, straight up.
Yeah, Macca's is okay every
after
now and
a
then.
show. Yeah, every so often. But I gave it a good go.
What's your standard Macca's order?
Everyone laughs at this when I say it.
Fillet of fish? Did you say?
No, I've never had a fillet of fish ever.
Okay.
I might try it, but I have 3 junior burgers because I haven't got the cheese.
Why don't you have one senior burger?
They should just do one senior burger and make it like a quarter pounder without the cheese and call it a senior burger.
I mean, you just get the quarter pounder with no cheese in it.
No, but the onion's different.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's all the fucking same onion.
No, they use dehydrated onion into junior burgers and the cheeseburgers, and in the quarter pounder they use
hydrated onion.
Actual onion strips. There you go.
That's just weird.
We're just promoting fucking McDonald's right now.
This podcast is not sponsored by
No,
McDonald's.
Definitely not. I wouldn't. But yeah, it's so I generally do keep pretty healthy. So talking about that back
to your music.
how I got to singing.
Yeah, yeah.
Big journey there. How long have you got? How long have we got?
Mate, we can go for a while.
So
we were talking 17 to 19,
Yeah.
and then you got your heart broken.
And then I went to the gym.
And then you went to the gym.
I went to the gym 6 days a week.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was kind of like that was my release. That was my outlet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I got really fit. Over a year, I was there 6 days a week. I got really fit and buffed up. And I went to this is probably going to be news to people, maybe some other family members. So here we go. But you know, my immediate family know. Because I used to dance, I ended up becoming a male review dancer. So like Manpower vibe.
A male review dancer?
Yeah, like Magic Mike. I was the original Magic Mike.
Right.
Yeah. That was what they used to call me, Magic Mike.
Right.
Before Magic Mike was even a thing.
So, so you went to the gym, you went really hard at the gym, you got buff, and then you got into dancing.
Yeah.
You did performance type stuff like that.
That's right.
Right.
I ended up, they approached me. I was with a friend. We went to Sexpo. It was like the exhibition. We were there and walking around, and he was a pretty buff dude as well. And we got a tap on the shoulder. This woman said, "Hey, do you guys, what do you guys do for work?" And we're like, well, I was working bars and stuff at the time. And she said, we've got this bar that's open on Saturday night. If you'd like to come and check it out, if maybe you can come work there. And we're like, yeah, cool. Two single guys.
Yeah.
Only 20, not even 20 years old.
Yeah, why not?
We went and we walked in, and it was literally like busloads of women coming in hens nights and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then these topless waiters would come out and serve drinks, and then there was a stage show. And so me and my friend was sitting at the bar going, well, this is awkward, but also it was cool. You know, we're 20. Yeah. We're young.
Yeah.
And then the manager lady said, so what do you think? Would you do it? And we were just like, yeah, cool, we'll do that.
Yeah.
So then we started doing that, just waitering.
Yeah.
That was fun. But then
build your confidence up,
build
being in that environment.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It was because I was so, hurt from a relationship breakup and the way it ended. It was kind of like it kind of anesthetized all that sort of yucky stuff that I was feeling, and I felt confident, and I got my confidence back. It's like how Stella got a groove back, but it was like how Mikey got his groove back. And so I ended up working there for a little bit, and I'd see the guys on stage do these acts, and there was a dance group, and then some of the guys, the male performers on the stage, were not that good at dancing. Like they were just bulky, steroid kind of abuse guys, and they had amazing bodies, but they couldn't dance. And I actually said to the manager, I said, do you know I dance? I've got a dancing background as well, because I did do dancing all through high school. I didn't tell you about that.
Right.
So I had dance experience. And she said, you can dance? It was like, what? And I said, yeah, sure. And she said, well, I'm going to get you on a crew and get you up there.
Yeah.
So fast forward, it was like maybe a month later, I get a phone call from her, and she goes, right, what are you doing for the next 3.5, 4 months? And I said, I was at uni at the time, so I could defer. I just said, just uni. She said, you want to go on tour Australia? And I said...
And you were like 20?
20. Yeah.
Why not?
At that point, I was 20. And I said, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And because I had stage management background, I ended up going up to Sydney and then doing the whole east coast of Australia, up to Darwin and back down again in a bus with male review, Magic Mike kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And we did, it was ridiculous at that age.
Yeah.
Because we performed to some nights it was 1,000 people.
So we're talking like early 2000s, yeah?
Yeah. So that would have been 2003.
Yeah. So that sounds amazing.
It was
Like an experience.
It was an experience. It was it was another life. But here's the flip side to it.
Mm.
It wasn't my true purpose.
Yeah.
And I knew that when I would get off stage, because and I get emotional about it, because when I got off stage, it was kind of like every time I'd get off stage, I knew there was another show the next night. And I was a good performer. I was a good dancer. I had a good physique. I was natural, didn't do steroids or anything like that. I was very healthy, didn't drink, much like yourself. But I chose not to drink.
Mm.
And I got back from a 4 months tour, and I got back to Melbourne. I was in the most pristine peak physical condition my body had ever been in.
Mm.
And then I went out to a private hens party at a house to do a show, because that's what I did when I got back from the tour, because it was, $800 a pop at 20 years old. That's not bad.
Yeah.
In 2003. And on the way back home, I had a major car accident and game over like that.
Fuck.
So that was the turning point.
Like, to go from being scouted to like then touring, I mean, that in itself, there would have been heaps of like struggle because you're in that environment and saying no to like drugs and alcohol and like all that type of stuff, and
Absolutely.
You're getting all the attention, that would happen if like when you're of that type of a performer from like not only women but like men as well. And then there's also that competitiveness. Was there competitiveness between you and the other performers and stuff like that?
Yeah, we had physical fights. After a couple of months on tour, and you're in a bus with 6 dudes, and one of them's got like roid rage. Yeah, you're it was on, and it became really hard. Yeah, on that level, and then you're away from family, which that was hard. But it was just with these compounding other issues, and some of the guys were on drugs as well, because that's what they do. They'd party and they go, "Come on, mate, have some." I'm like, "I don't touch drugs," and they're like, "Oh gosh, no worries."
And there's that social like pressure, impact in being able to control, that whole scenario, right?
Absolutely.
But then to like come back and be in a car accident.
Yeah, but it was pivotal in my life though, because if that didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have got out of that industry, because it was addictive.
Yeah, like
at that age.
Yeah, at that age, and it's because all the attention's like feeding the ego, right? And you're feeling invincible, like you're doing all these things, and like you're touring Australia and getting paid to like.
I saw some beautiful sights.
Yeah, you would have.
When we had downtime, I'd get on a bike, and especially up in like Alice Springs, and I'd go out you'd go out in the middle of the desert and watch a sunset. And I was like, wow, I wouldn't have thought to do this. And when would I have done this? Yeah. So there was some beautiful aspects to it that I don't regret. Yeah. But again, there was this. Into my core, I knew that I wasn't doing the right thing by Michael. Yeah. It was cool, and my friends loved it as well. They were like, "Hey, man, Mikey's he's earning heaps of cash, and he's doing this on the way." It was like a legend amongst my friends. Yeah. But it was a grind as well,
Yeah, and people don't realize like how much of a grind it is.
It is,
because they only see what they want to see, but 2, what is allowed to be like seen. They don't see the fights on the bus or getting physical with the other dudes, or like knowing that they're on roids or whatever, right? Like
One guy had a bender. I think he was awake for like nearly 3 days, and he got angry. We're at a country town up in Queensland,
Right.
and he got so angry that I was taking time to pack up the lighting because we also set the stage up as well because we had a big bus.
Yeah.
That all the lights and sound equipment would go in, and our stage managers said, make sure we pack it up good tonight for tomorrow night. So I was like, yep, no worries. We did that. And this guy cracked it that I was taking too long because he couldn't go out and, party with girls. And it just started from that and got back to the hotel. And he said, oh, why take so long? I said, well, because that's what the boss said. So, like, let's chill, dude.
Yeah.
And it just ramped up. And then he clocked me in the face. And it could have knocked my teeth out. Like, but he was the dude on roids. And actually, I was like, it wasn't that hard. Actually, it was like, cool. Is that all you got? And it was like, and the other guys got involved in like trying to break it up and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
so, how long were you in hospital after the car accident?
4 months.
Wow.
So I was in a coma for 2 and a bit weeks.
Fuck.
They nearly pulled the life support on after, I think, I'm not sure, within the first week because my body, you got to imagine like this whole side of my body got crushed. So I went into a tree at like 110 k's an hour, straight into a tree sideways, just from falling asleep on the road. That's all that happened. I was tired and I died. And microsleep, it's a real thing.
Wow.
So, and then it took them 2.5 hours to cut me out of the vehicle, which I was in and out of consciousness.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't out because I was so fit that I was trying to fight to get out of the car.
Yeah.
And it took them a long time to cut me out because it was wedged right into the tree. And so they had to get tow trucks to connect to the car and pull it out from the tree and then cut me out. And then I got
the jaws of life.
It was the jaws of life. And then I got airlifted to the Alfred Hospital in Melbourne, which I was awake for, but they'd pumped me up with so many drugs that it was, I felt fine.
Yeah.
I didn't think anything was wrong.
Yeah. That's because you couldn't feel anything.
Couldn't feel anything.
And
there was a lot wrong.
Yeah.
I'd pretty much, the whole right side of my body got crushed. Collapsed lung, bruised heart, brain damage.
All from a micro sleep.
Yeah, it's a real thing. And now, because I do drive past the spot on the Hume Highway where it happened, they've got those crash barriers there now. It's a really good invention.
How's it feel like driving past that spot?
I think I've dealt with it, and it's like one of those things that when I drive past it, I give it a nod and say, I got through.
You fucking tried me, tree.
Yeah, bloody oath.
I'm assuming the tree's still there.
I think so. It was in a group of quite a few trees, so yeah, but the tree would still be there. It wasn't a huge tree either. It was probably the trunk was only that big.
Wow.
You would have thought
really,
it would
you really wrapped the car around it then.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going at 100k.
Oh yeah, there's and
I think
to a dead stop too.
Yeah, like people forget like 100k's if you like hit something that's like stationary, like that's pretty massive.
Yeah. So brain damage, the works. I had slight frontal lobe damage to the front of my brain.
Right.
So it was a big one, and people, like especially like paramedics and that said like most people would not walk out of that. That would have been game over. And the story is that the car got wrapped in the trees, and then the lights went out. So it's pitch black out there in the Hume Highway. It was out in Wallen, so there's no lights. So cars were driving past, and I was just there for God knows how long. And a family of 5 were driving back home from a party that night because it was on grand final night in 2004. and they were driving back home into Pascoe Vale, and they looked out the window and there was a flicker from the brake lights because it was pitch black, and then there was just like a little flicker and it went off. And they got a feeling like I think the wife said, I think the police may be there because it was grand final night. Maybe they were like, they thought it was a radar. But then they got a sense. They said, I think we need to turn back. And they'd already gone like K's down the road. Luckily, they did turn back because they turned back. And this was at...
I'm getting like the hairs on my back of my neck are like standing.
Yeah, it was really remarkable story because when they came back around, I was in the car and then they called the emergency crews. But before the emergency crews got there, the husband and his 15-year-old boy that was in the car smashed the window to try and give me water and that sort of thing, because as much as the car was wrapped around the pole like a banana, you could still, they could access the other side because that wasn't.
Yeah.
I'll show you photos. You can put them up and have a look. But and that, like, they saved my life. And and the emergency crews did the hard yards later. But this family, if they hadn't have stopped, it would have been game over, I reckon.
If they hadn't have had that feeling of seeing that red brake light flicker, and be like, no, we got to go back.
Yeah. So, and I'm like lifelong friends with them now. Like, we've got a beautiful relationship. So I count the lucky stars there. They're beautiful people, good family. The boys, two of the boys that got married. One of them's had his first child. And you get to see that.
Fucking hell, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's full on.
And that was the basis for me getting back into music and not being Magic Mike.
Well, we like to go real deep here.
We went real deep, real quick.
Yeah, I mean, so you mentioned like the first week they were like going to turn off life support.
Yeah.
So why didn't they? Were your parents kind of like, nah, leave it on?
No, they didn't have control really.
Right.
What happened, because there was so much trauma to the body, it wasn't healing like it should have. And the body, when you have trauma to a broken bone, all the blood flow, or your body goes, oh, there's a problem, alarm, and goes to try and fix whatever the problem is. So the issue was that I got a fever. So it was just too much. It was like that was compounding on all the other...
Everything else.
Yeah. Because they'd done, I can't remember the number. I think they did like 3 or 4 operations within a few days as well, because I had all these breaks. So they put plates in and rods and all that sort of thing. So then I copped a fever, and then the body just said, I can't handle it. So,
do you still have those rods and plates in, or did you have them removed?
All out.
All out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Freaked me out when they told me that they put a rod in my femur, because I said, how did you get a rod in the middle of the femur? And they actually go through the marrow. Oh, so they drill it like, imagine that, like a Makita drill, like going into your femur. So, and then they put 2 screws to hold it here, and then massive screws up here to hold it.
The fuck?
Yeah, it's like fucking Bionic Man.
Yeah, you're like the $6 million man.
Yeah. I was like, I beep when I go through the turnstiles at the airport. Beep beep. I haven't got a gun. It's all right. It's just a rod in my leg.
Do you still have the rod in your leg?
They took it.
They took it out.
Yeah.
I mean that in itself, like if it's in the bone marrow, and they have to fucking take out the rod.
Yeah. It's just a reverse drill.
Yeah. Like a reverse drill, okay, but like what about the fucking pain?
Yeah.
And the recovery.
It wasn't too bad when they took it out.
Right, okay.
But the problem was that I broke my pelvis in 2, so it's like cracked like that.
Of course you did.
So the pelvis broke and the L4, L5 vertebrae chipped. So there was other things going on. This was the problem, the shoulder, like my clavicle.
Yeah.
So collarbone was in a bad way. So they did, I think, 4 operations on that. And then
it's because when you breathe, like you're constantly like moving it, you know.
Correct.
It's like your ribs or
and that's the thing. All these ribs were broken on this side, and so they had to heal on their own because you can't fix them.
Yeah.
You can't fix them with a drill.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was the clavicle. They got they had a plate in there. It was like an L-shaped sort of plate that went down. That was in there. But here's the cool thing. This is why I think modern medicine is A1. They put artificial bone in between the break and fused it. It's artificial. So what it does is it grows sort of, if that's your bone, it grows over your bone.
Yeah.
But then it learns how to grow back to the size of your original bone.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. That blew my mind. Because I said,
Wow.
it's going to be sort of protruding. And they said, no, it goes back to your actual natural bone shape.
Right.
That was so cool. So I learned.
That's cool.
Yeah. Modern medicine.
So that was the turning point for you to go back to music.
It was.
That's a pretty big fucking turning point.
Yeah, that's a big kick up the ass. Like, you're not meant to be doing that. You're meant to be doing this.
The universe is saying, Mikey, no.
No more magic, Mike.
Yeah.
No, it was the turning point because as soon as I awoke from the coma, I actually asked the nurses to bring a radio next to my bed in a emergency ward. It was a high trauma. I was in a high trauma ward, and they put it on lightly at night for me to sleep, and it helped me relax. And then once I was at the rehab hospital, I was at a rehab hospital for 4 months. I had them bring like my drumsticks in. Obviously, I couldn't use this side, but I could use my left side. And that's where I started researching and just immersing myself in music again, like all types. And
going back to your roots and what like resonated with you, you know, growing up.
Yeah, I went back to what I felt was my core, which is music.
There was a study that was done. I can't remember what study it was. All I remember was it was a study about music and how like when you hear music that you like, it's because it resonates with your own frequency.
Yeah.
And so we all have a frequency. Whether or not we're aware of it or whether or not we know what it is, like we all have it. And so that's why only some types of music you enjoy and others you don't.
Yeah.
And so for you, like being in recovery, like and having music probably just helped your overall body to kind of like be calm and be able to repair itself.
That's what I feel. That's exactly what it did. Because it was a big recovery process. Like the doctors said, look, the brain injury you'll probably be fully recovered in 15 years. Like, because I didn't have an issue with speech as such, or I was still myself, but I was a lot slower I wasn't as sharp. I could feel it. And like, you know, if I had to read something, it wouldn't retain. There was a lot of things that weren't as sharp. I just wasn't as sharp as I used to be. Even on the drum, even on drums. Like I had to change my whole drumming style when I got back to playing drums, and I could use my arms and limbs again. So yes, it did save me at that point. And that was when I started writing music again, because I hadn't written anything since I was 9 years old. As then I was like 21.
I mean, you had a lot of time sitting around.
I did.
You're like, oh, maybe I should start writing.
Yeah. And I did. I wrote. That's when I started really writing again.
Yeah, that's
and I
cool.
Didn't look back.
Mm.
But I wasn't a singer again because I got back into playing drums.
Yeah.
After my recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So I was playing like Latin percussion.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played in rock bands. I got back on the drums. So I played on the cover circuit. I got a seat with a cool cover band that was like a rock and roll cover band, and that was my sort of entry point back into the music world.
It's probably good because as part of your recovery, you wanted to go back to what you loved doing, which was playing drums.
Yeah.
But it was also good to kind of like, what's the word? Like retrain the body,
Yes.
you know, from the injury and be able to, you know, to do the things that you were doing.
Drumming really helps with that stuff because it helps to cross. There's a technique that they do for little kids, like from I think it's like 4 till 6. It's called crossing the midline.
Okay.
And they get them to cross they do activities where they cross their arms over it with activities.
Yeah.
And it helps with their balance and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
and their motor skills.
The motor
and
skills.
Like using your fingers and like all this type of stuff.
Yeah. So drumming was really paramount in me getting back and my rehab because it also forced the brain to learn. Like when I had to learn songs.
Yeah.
It was like, it was a slog, but it was really good for the brain.
Mm. And like, so with what you've said so far, like, you know, everything up until your 20s and then going on tour and then having this accident, like that's a lot to have taken away from you.
Yeah.
You know, and then be able to have the recovery and do the recovery and go back to. Did you have any apprehensions about like doing drumming again because of, you know, you knew that you were slightly a little bit slower or things weren't coming quickly to you?
I just had to change my tact. Getting back into drums, like I had to work extra hard. And then because previously when I played, the dexterity was really good. I was faster.
Yeah.
I just had to adapt my playing style to suit Mike now. And with that, because I was super fit before my crash, getting back on the horse with gym, because I'd go back to the gym and then I'd have to stop because they had cut like muscles up here and that sort of thing. Anytime I would build muscles, especially in my neck or like in my traps, I'd get major issues with my neck muscles. So I couldn't train like I used to. So drumming was really the sort of savior. But it was, I just had to adapt and get back to, okay, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to skin this cat?
Did you have to skin this cat?
I was waiting to see.
Bro.
I love cats.
Where the fuck are they?
I don't know. They're probably ready to pounce on me.
Yeah, they're like out
they
there.
Said he said somewhere. Skin cats. Let's claw him to death.
I don't know much about drumming, but like, are there different, like when you say you had to adjust your particular style, did you have to go against like the grain of the foundations of drumming to be able to do what you needed to do? Like, did you create your own kind of like approach to it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you do rudiments, what they call rudiments, like it's, you know, like right, left, right, left, right, left, left. And there's all these different combinations you can do with your hands and your feet.
Yeah.
Because my brain didn't work as fast, especially with my feet. I had to work out. Yeah, I had to work out sort of guerrilla ways to get there, or to make things sound like it sounds like I'm playing fast, but I'm actually using two hands to do what one hand could normally do. So I did have to adapt it. And look, I used to play at venues, and there was guys that would stand up. You get musos in Melbourne that are, seasoned musos, and they'd look and they'd go, "Oh, what's he doing? Like he's not like conventional." But I didn't care. I played with such energy because I was so happy to be back playing. I didn't give a shit what anyone thinks.
It's actually what I love about the creative space in that whilst there can be these like fundamental principles that everybody needs to either like learn or try to apply, there's always the ability to do something different and create something different and make it your own, because you can take like elements of all these different aspects and like really make it your own. And it sounds like that's kind of like what you did to be able to get back to playing. And like, regardless of whether or not these musos were saying, "Oh, he's unconventional," like you did what you needed to do.
Yeah. And that's what got me the gigs as well, because it was that tenacity that I had to learn that got me gigs. And you know what the other thing was? I was a drummer who could sing, so I'd do all the backing vocals. And so most drummers will just play drums. A lot of bands.
But what you just said, like before that last statement about, you had the tenacity, you had, the drive to get the skills back up. But I can already tell you had the personality as well.
Right.
In terms of being able to build relationships with your band members, to be able to get the best performance and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
The fact that you could sing is just another like skill set that made you stand out from everybody else.
Yeah.
Like and I know you're not doing this, but I wouldn't discredit your personality as well, because your personality is what makes you you and uniquely you. And with everything that you've gone through, it's kind of like,
Thanks, mate.
And like, I've only known you for like an hour, but like, that's just a fucking amazing story.
I appreciate it, man. Like so actually it's interesting because, you come full circle.
Yeah.
In a way. It was interesting because I actually, when COVID hit, I hung the sticks up. Like I retired from drumming. It was the thing that gave me life, but then it was also time to put the brakes on it because again, there was something else. I felt like I had to do something. There was something else calling.
Yeah.
And I knew what that was because I said that I wanted to sing. Being up the back on drums because I toured with a band for quite a while, and when you're on drums, you're hidden by. I had a pretty big drum kit.
Yeah, you're hidden by the drums.
I'd still put on a show, and everyone go, "Oh, he hits those drums hard. He's a real good rock drummer, and he sings really well."
Yeah, you're kind of though like you're a support piece.
That's right, because it's about that centerpiece at the front
Correct.
most of the time.
Yeah,
and I don't want this to sound arrogant at all, but people do go to when you. What's a band? Who's a band that you love? Can I ask? Now I'm testing you.
I don't know. Let's just say Phil Collins.
Phil Collins.
I mean, he's a fucking drummer.
He's a fucking drummer. That's a hard one. It's like, pick a lead singer. Well, he's a drum. He plays drums too.
Sorry.
No, that's awesome.
Sorry.
Yeah, but
Beatles.
Right. Oh, that's a hard one too. But when you so if you
because they didn't really have a drum. Did they have a drummer?
Yeah, Ringo.
Oh yeah, okay.
But he didn't play drums on her. Did you hear about that?
No.
Now there's a whole thing that he didn't play on any of the records.
What the fuck?
Because he was apparently I'm not going to say it. But apparently he wasn't. He was good live. Like Ringo had a thing, and I respect him.
Yeah.
But apparently, it was all these like guys from like there's all these drummers from like massive studios in the States and that sort of thing that would go and retrack the drums.
Right.
Which I think that's the industry sometimes, you know, and like overdubbed. And there is a drummer, I forgot his name, but it came up and he said, yeah, I'll say it now because he's in his like 80s almost. And he said, he goes, yeah, I play drums on that, and damn, they're in a damn thing that they can come and get me and they can come and kill me, but I played drums on that album. Ringo Starr didn't play drums on that album. It's like, wow, mic drop.
Yeah.
And because he had nothing to lose because he's like in his 80s. He's like, oh, I'm going to die soon anyway, so they can. So, yeah.
But yeah, like I understand the fact that being a drummer, you're like a support act to everything else because you're behind the drums and you're not really seen. Like you're heard,
right?
You're critical to the song,
yep.
But like you're not entertaining the group like visually.
Yeah, and you're not the person that has to deal with talking to the audience and engaging the audience.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
it's like, so when you go and see the Beatles, who are you going to see?
Yeah,
are you going to see? You see them as a band, but it's John Lennon and Paul McCartney at the front. There's two front people in that.
Yeah,
band.
That's right. Yeah.
When you go and see, like the Foo Fighters. Yeah, you're going to see the Foo Fighters as a band, but you're going to see Dave Grohl.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the other thing. Like, that's the other story. Because after that crash and getting back to playing drums and then getting back to singing, I actually hit probably I hit a really low point again with depression in 2016, 17. And I went downhill mentally because although people say, oh, well, that accident like really would have changed your life and you must be really appreciative to be alive and that sort of thing. And it was like, yeah, I am. But it brought up a fuckload of demons, stuff that was unresolved. Like, I also, I'd say, why me? Like, as well, like, why me? There was that sort of thing going on. There was a lot that I had to deal with on an emotional level. And then I dealt with like demons from childhood. I had a great childhood, by the way, like family, but I also had some things happen to me that were not good. So what happens is when you hit that low after the crash and then got back to drumming career and that sort of thing, you still had to deal with the other stuff that came up. So I didn't have depression.
Like a fallout, but like a delayed fallout.
It was a delayed fallout.
Came later.
Because prior to my accident, I was happy-go-lucky, fit, healthy, all that stuff. When that was taken away, I had music to help me get through stuff, but what happened was it accentuated the depression kind of came up.
Yeah,
it's like that
magnified it.
Magnified it, and it festered, and it got worse, and it got to the point, and because of the brain damage and that sort of thing, and I wasn't able to process things like a normal person would who hasn't had a brain injury. It was a struggle. And then I did struggle with a lot of things. But what got me through was actually meeting. I remember there was one night I was in a state. I was having dinner with my mum and dad. I was okay. And then all of a sudden I just went into a state. Nothing, it just came over me. And I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. After everything you've been through and you fought through, you don't want to be here anymore. Like that's what the other like voice says.
Yeah.
But that's what I felt like. And literally, this is where I think universe is, like, people say, the universe is, it's hocus pocus. And I said, no, I firmly believe that the universe is there and it's a real thing and we resonate with it and it resonates with us. As much as it might sound hocus pocus, all that stuff was festering, like the inner demons. And there was something I had that feeling, like I need to do something, but I have to do something or else I'm not going to be here anymore. That's how I felt. I didn't have anything I felt like I had nothing to give. And a friend of mine messaged me that night and said, hey, I know you love Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters. I can hook up for you if you want to meet him. I'll tell you where that night.
That night.
Yeah. And he told me where, because it was very hush-hush.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I don't want to be like a fan, because Dave Grohl's like, he's the drummer of Nirvana, for God's sake. Like, and then like lead singer of the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
And he told me where they were going to be and that sort of thing. I went along and I wasn't expecting anything. And then my friend was like, I've got to go. So you just hang around out here and he'll come out and just say hi. It's fine. Like, and I was in a laneway. It was so, like, I must have looked like the biggest, like, dodgy freaking. I'm going to have to throw that chewy out. Sorry.
That, that sounds.
And I was in the laneway and I'm like, this is stupid. Like, I'm waiting here like a fanboy.
Yeah.
But then there was that thing, was like, no, don't go. Just wait. And there was like the vans that they get driven around in, they're like blacked out, like Mercedes vans, right? And there was a doorway at the restaurant, because it was at a restaurant, and then there was a venue across from the restaurant, a music venue. So I was sort of at the venue and then in the laneway. And no shit, Dave walks out just on his own for a dart. And it's a laneway, like no bigger than this room. And he kind of looks up and lights his cigarette and he goes, hey, man. And I'm like, hey, you're Dave Grohl. Like, duh. Like, are you kidding me?
He probably gets that a lot.
Yeah, I'm like, he goes, yeah, I am. I'm like, oh, fuck. I go, dude, do you mind if I come and say good day? He goes, sure. Come over, and he's having a dart. We, like, literally it was only like 4 minutes max.
Yeah.
Well, we chatted about drums. I go, man, I play like Tama. Like, I know you use the Tama in Neverminding. Like, we spoke drums, and I said, hey, by the way, I'll be at your concert tomorrow night. Well, I'm going to be there, so I hope you have a good show and just have a safe trip. I wasn't like fanboy-y, but I wasn't oh my God. But I was just like, hey, man, thanks for everything. You've been a huge inspiration. I appreciate you. Yeah. And he gave me a bro hug and then a fucking selfie. He goes, yeah, sure, let's do a selfie. And I did a selfie. I'll show you. You can put it up for the people to see.
Yeah.
And I walked up that laneway I said goodbye, obviously. I walked up that laneway in tears of joy.
Yeah.
And then from that moment, I rang my mum and I said, Mum, you wouldn't fucking believe it. I just met my number, like, over Michael Jackson, over Prince, over all of them. I said, I just met Dave Grohl. And she's like, oh, that's lovely. And I was like, yeah. And I kid you not, from that moment, I went like full pedal to the floor with my music, and I didn't look back. And that gave me that purpose. Yeah. And I was like, I need to sing, because that was the thing behind the drums. Like, I do the backing vocals, and you're behind the drum kit, as I said. Yeah. But I always wanted to just jump in front and get the microphone off the scene and go, nah, man, this is how you should do it. This is how you're going to get his attention, and that sort of thing. And it sounds egoic, but it's not. It was just, that was what I felt my purpose needed to be. Yeah. And so I didn't look back. So I ended up going to a beach shack for a couple of weeks. I wrote an EP, went and recorded it within a month, released it. I ended up just going like hell for leather. I met a lot of cool people, had different people play on my record. I had a great producer like help me out with the recording. And then I went like, I go, fuck it. I'm going to go on a holiday. So I went to Nashville and I went there for like a month. I was in America for a month, but I was in Nashville for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I went and recorded another 4 songs with another producer there who I'd met years ago. And he goes, "You're singing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm singing now." And he said, "Who's going to play drums?" I go, "I'm going to play drums."
Yeah.
And so I went over there and did that EP, then came back. And then I put on, and then I was like, "I got to put this to the test. Can I be a frontman?"
Yeah.
And that's the noise that my brain made. It was like ting. And then we got to November. It was December 2019. I put on a show.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 300 people rocked up. For in Melbourne, for an unknown artist, was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's do or die, motherfucker. You're going to do it now or you're not going to do it. And I didn't look back. I put on a show and it was a success. And that was my entry into being a frontman.
Wow.
Yeah. So Dave Grohl inadvertently saved my life. If I hadn't chatted to him that night, and because he's got an energy about him as well. And it's interesting because I spoke to one of his backing singers. She was doing a live, like a live chat on Instagram and that sort of thing. It was questions. I said, and she was talking about his energy, and I said, "Hey, actually, he really like saved me just from chatting to him for like 5 minutes." And she said, "Yeah, you don't understand. He has that energy on people. He's kind of like a calming factor for people, but after you talk to him, you feel great." And that's what happened. And so realistically, Dave Grohl saved my life. Mark II.
I think it's amazing when you like meet your idols.
Yeah.
And the like the genuine, authentic self that you were to meet him. And obviously like you mentioned that you weren't like full on fanboying, but you were like just being yourself and, you know, respectful and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then for him to, you know, treat you the way that he did in that 4 minutes, and for you to then accept that energy in to then be able to fuel even more of this fire within you with everything that you've gone through, that's just, I can understand how meeting him would be like life-changing.
And it really did in that moment. You know, if we were talking 5 minutes, it was less. It was like 4 minutes, I reckon. And he was cool, and because I have met quite a few like entertainers and rock stars over the years, just being in the industry and you know, going to parties and that sort of thing. And not everyone is, I guess, as nice as they may seem in person as they are.
Yeah.
There's a persona.
Yeah.
But he was, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And I was really grateful for that, because it could have been the opposite. He could have gone, "Shut up, I want to talk to you." Like, it could have been like that. And then God knows how I would have gone after that.
Yeah.
Because I was already in a pretty yucky state mentally.
Yeah.
So
it would have demoralized you.
It would have.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was so nice and cool and supportive. And he's like, "Yeah, man, those Tama kits are awesome." And I said, "Yeah, I know, because of you. That's why I play it." And that's like all I'll play now.
Hang on, what's a Tama kit?
Tama is a Japanese drum kit.
Oh,
it's a Japanese company called Tama.
Oh.
Yeah, so he used Tama on the Nevermind recording.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just like,
so just like, synonymous for
rock drums, really. Well, they're a great company. They've been around for a while, but so that's what he used. So that's why I was like, we were talking drums. It was kind of like just bro talk, like going, "Oh yeah, man," like
you were talking shop.
Yeah, and it was cool.
Yeah,
and he was cool about it, and then he gave me a bro hug and sent me on my way. And then I saw him the next night going "Rah!" on stage in front of like 70,000 people, and it's like, yeah, it was just killer. He's a really good dude.
That's yeah. Well, people need to hear that story, which is why I'm doing this podcast.
Yeah, and it's a true story. Like it is. There's no. It's not like we're not paraphrasing it. That's exactly as it happened. That's how I was feeling on the day. That's what happened, and that's and then everything after that, sort of, it went on from that. As a lead singer. So yeah.
How's your mum though? When you like called her, she's like, "Yeah, that's nice."
Yeah, she was like, no, yeah, because mum's just, she knows, like, she knows how passionate I am about it all. And she's like, oh, that's lovely, Mike. Because she's like that. She's like, oh, that's lovely. When are you coming home? like, I just told you, I just met, like, God. Yeah. He's like Jesus in 2000 and freaking 17 or whatever the bloody hell. It was 2018.
Yeah.
It's like meeting Jesus and he's like, when are you coming home, darling? Like,
What was Nashville like? Because I know Aaron went to Nashville as well.
Yeah, Az went there too. Nashville was cool. Like it's like a playground.
A music playground?
It's like a music playground for adults. As soon as I walked down Broadway, which is the main street of Nashville, there is just all you hear is just snare drums, and because there's like 3 levels to most of the bars, and then there's a drummer. It's like this: you've got a band here, then the next level is a band here, and a band here, and the windows are all open.
Ah, okay.
So it's just like, oh, we'll go and see that band, and then we'll go and see that band, and the whole street is based on that.
That's crazy.
And this is the thing, like, it's such a hub that and everyone said, oh, and of course I had some people going, why are you going to Nashville? You're not country. I was like, I'm going to Nashville to record an album with a rock producer that I know who moved to Nashville because he hated LA because LA is really pretentious.
Yeah.
And he moved to Nashville. So that's why I went to Nashville.
Yeah.
Fuckers. Like, it's like, who cares? Like,
people are always gonna like question
like
your choices or question your decisions, like, and not really understand the context. Well,
that was the thing. And so I ended up staying at the studio for like 2 weeks, and I slept on a couch, and then the studio's there. So that's what I did for my solo stuff. Even in Melbourne, when I recorded my EP here, I slept at the studio for a week on the floor. Like, my drum kit was set up there, and I slept here, and it was freezing. And then I'd get up in the morning, play drums, sing, play guitar, and then go to sleep. And the producer let me sleep there overnight. Yeah. Which I was pretty lucky.
That's an interesting approach or process to your whole creative, like, music side, actually, like, sleeping where you're, like, going to be doing the work.
Where you're going to be doing the work, yeah.
Do you find that just helped you kind of like immerse yourself in what you were trying to do?
Yeah, what it did was it kept me, because when you record an album, like, sometimes you'll do takes and then you're, all right, I'll see you tomorrow, I'm going home. You go home, you've got distractions. I just wanted to fully immerse myself there and not leave. So if I woke up at like midnight and I had an idea, I could grab the guitar and go, I'll do that in the morning. Yeah. And I don't have to drive for like 45 minutes thinking about it. So it was like, as soon as we wake up, hey, we're going to do this. And that's what happened. And that was the same thing in Nashville. Like, he let me sleep in the studio on the couch. I was really lucky.
That's fucking cool.
It was really cool. And yeah, that was that. And then, yeah, as I said, I got back from Nashville. And yeah, like, Nashville, if you ever get a chance to go and check it out, it's a really cool place. It's really fun. It's fun, and the music is cool. And the musicians are like world class. And they're playing for like tips. They don't get paid. Like, here, if you go and play a venue, you get paid a rate for the night. If you get tips on top of it, no one gives tips here. In Nashville, you play for tips.
Right. So it's really based on the quality of what you're playing.
Correct. If you're good, they walk around with a bucket and it'll fill up.
Right.
And if you play, and then when you start playing like Kid Rock, he's got a bar there. You know, Kid Rock's got, it's called Kid Rock's Honky Tonk. If you play there, there's like at any one time 800 people in the room. So when they bring that bucket around, it fills up.
Wow.
So you want to be playing those venues because but you've got to be good.
Yeah.
And I actually got up and sang with there's a cool group in Nashville. There are two brothers. They're called the Mance Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I met them randomly and we just got along. And I go, oh, I'll sing. And they go, you want to get up and sing? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And they go, what do you want to sing? They go, you're Australian. Why don't you sing AC/DC? And I'm like, I was like, that's right, my vocal range. All right, we'll do it. And so I got up and I sang. There's a video on my Instagram, and I got up and sang Highway to Hell. And it rocked. Like I was just like rocking up. I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. But these guys are like top tier musicians.
So why did you go down the path of like hard rock?
Good question. Hard rock is that's the thing that drives me when I like I can write acoustic music.
Mm-hmm.
When I write heavier music, so my if I write heavy songs, and when I do write heavy songs, there's another energy that comes out and it's a release for me. That is part of my healing. That's the stuff that so my original band now that I'm the lead singer in is called IONSKY, IONSKY. And the music, it blows my mind because it's been over a 20-year journey to get here. And I've finally found a band where I feel like I'm personally writing the best music I've ever written in my life now. With the bunch of dudes that if I had met in my 20s, we could have like, it probably wouldn't have worked because they're all on different paths.
Yeah.
But we've all come together. It's like a synergy that we're all kind of different, but we work in IONSKY. And it's just like there's this energy. And we tested that the other week when we did our launch. We played to a packed room and we went out there and just absolutely annihilated it because that was what we've been waiting for. Like we'd all have different paths and all played in heaps of bands and toured and done studio work and session work and covers. And this band has brought us guys together.
It's the universe at work.
I think that's the thing because we otherwise would not have been pulled together. And the way we were pulled together was kind of like, wow, but oh yeah, so he's mates with him, but we haven't seen him in like years. And then it just happened organically. It wasn't a forced thing. And
that's always the best way when it's organic.
Yeah.
Because then like it feels right.
It does feel right.
And there's no you touched on it before, like when I was listening to you tell a couple of those stories about having no expectations, and I think when things happen organically, there are no expectations because you don't know what's happening, or like you don't have any expectations of a pre-formatted outcome. You're just kind of like going with the ebb and flow of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it sounds like that's how the band's kind of like come together, and with everybody that's involved in it.
Yeah. And we when we did the show the other week, I got feedback from people who were there because we walked out on stage and it was packed, and I was like, far out. This is really this is a good turnout. We got to turn it on.
Did you get nervous?
I was so nervous before I went on stage, mate. I was shitting myself.
I was going to say, did you have to do a nervous poo?
I did. I think I didn't do I ended up. I was back and forth to the toilet, like just. I call it stage wing, like when you like. Yeah. I went back and forth to the toilet maybe 7 times in not even half an hour.
Yeah.
Because I was nervous, and then I was sitting backstage there was a backstage area, and our stage tech was there. He goes, "You all right, mate?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all right." And I had my headphones on, and he goes, "You've got this, mate." And he just told me, he goes, "You're gonna be fine." And he goes, "You guys have worked really hard."
Yeah.
for months and months and months for this show.
Yeah.
Just go out and enjoy it. And then we huddled and then the band came in, and before we went on stage, we huddled. And I think it was like a freaking football speech. You know, like when the coach comes out and or the captain comes out and revs the band up. Revs the team.
Yeah.
That's what I sounded like, I think. I was like, we're going to go out there.
So it was you that did the speech?
It was myself and another guitarist. We were revving each other up.
Yeah.
And then the other boys got really revved up.
I think it is real interesting, the power of being able to do that.
Yeah.
Like to not only like align everyone's energy, but also like the power of like words.
Yeah.
You know, that you can use particular words in a particular way that then creates this energy transfer within other people that kind of like lifts them up as well.
Yep.
You know, it's why all of those kind of like, and I'm not a Hillsong person, but like the Hillsong church or whatever it is, like on Sunday mornings at the gym, when I see the TVs, there's always that dude like talking to like thousands of people.
Yep.
That's what he's doing, you know? Like,
he's revving them up.
He's revving them up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but also what's interesting is the sound guy noticing that you'd gone to the toilet that many times, and it's like, nah, mate, you got this.
Yeah, because he's been on the journey in rehearsals, and that he knows that like we've put the work in.
Yeah.
And then it was time, like, you know, it was pretty much because the band had formed 4.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And we've had deaths in families and you know, like we're talking immediate families and that sort of thing. Initially, like some band members left, and then we were just like, oh, what are we going to do now? We're going to fold this thing. So it's been on IONSKY's had that journey of ups and downs, but it all came together that night, and we're all there, and we're all like in it now. And yeah, it was quite amazing because of feedback afterwards. Because I remember actually in that speech when I'm like, we're going to go out there, we're not just going to give him a show, we're going to give him an experience. It was something like that. And then I said, we're going to make them remember this. And we're just a local band doing a little show here. We're going to make them remember this for the rest of their lives because that's why we're here. And the guys weren't like, I'm like, shut up. Like they weren't like that. They were like, yeah. They're like, yeah, come on. Like they really got into it. And the feedback that I got afterwards from some industry people that were there and even friends, but they were like, that wasn't a local show. That was like a tour show. That was like we've gone to see a touring band that's been touring for like 15 years. And collectively we have, because we've got the stage experience. Yeah, we got in this band when we say later in life, like we're in our late 30s into 40s, but we've got all the experience. We've been through all the stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
And we write about stuff that, you know, is really, really hits home, and it's real. We're not trying
it's relatable for like your audience, you know?
Absolutely.
And look, one of my, I guess, core principles that I applied when I was doing photography, and certainly when I'm doing this, is people will always remember you based on the way you made them feel.
Yeah.
And so for you, like doing that speech and saying, we're not just going to play, we're going to give people an experience. Like every single person that was in the audience probably walked away and going, holy shit, this band.
Yeah.
You know, and the next day they'll be like telling people about it.
Well, it's interesting you say that because we just had an influx of like messages and that thing the next day. We go like, that was an awesome show. And we invited a lot of musicians from Melbourne to the show because it was on a Thursday night. And because most of them play on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday. So we did it on a Thursday. So a lot of them came and they rocked up, and it was such a good vibe because pre-COVID, you couldn't get that many musos in one room at one time, and they were there.
And that's the best type of feedback, right? Like your own peers.
Yeah.
Because they know what work effort's gone into it. There's that appreciation, you know?
Because most of them, Yeah, and that's what they said. They go, man, like, and a lot of them didn't. They knew I sang I sang, but they didn't know that I was going to walk out there and switch that persona on,
Yeah.
which is me.
Yeah.
And that's what, again, coming back to, I think I put a photo up that one of the photographer sent an awesome photo, and I put it up a few days later. I said, I found my purpose. I feel my purpose. And I said, I found my purpose. And I stood by it because that's me.
It's so good. It's so good that you talk about that, because I think we go through life, you know, like trying lots of different things, and life gets busy, or like things happen, and relationships, and like all this type of stuff, and you can kind of lose your purpose. But, you know, and with everything that you've gone through, to be able to be here at this time period doing the thing that you love is just like that. I think ultimately everybody deep down inside strives to do that. Where things get confused, or, you know, life gets busy or whatever, like you kind of get veered off the path.
Yes.
But if you can find the path again and do the thing that you love, like, it just brings a lot of happiness, not only to you, but then your ability to like impact like other people as well.
Absolutely. And that was a good thing, because I still, I work, you know, I work a day job. It's not 9 to 5. It's like earlier. I still work a day job.
It's 5 to 9.
It is pretty much. Today it was 5 a.m. But it's what I have to do because I, you know, you know, I'm a stepfather supporting. I have a family, so I have that life, which is my grounding center, and I have like a little family that I care about and look after. But then it's beautiful that I also have a partner who's really supportive, and then I can shift. And she says, "Yeah, go and play Rockstar. Go and you've got to go and do that stuff. Go and rehearse with your band," because she understands, because she was also in the industry. So it's really helpful, because I have had partners in the past that have been like, "Oh, you're wasting your time. Why are you doing that?"
Yeah, they just don't understand.
They don't like, "Oh, you're just going to do music. Do you get paid for that? Why do you do it if you don't get paid?" And they don't get it. It's not about payment. It's about what happens in here and in here. And that transfer of energy to an audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what I love. And that's what I was saying before. It was like when I wanted to jump out from behind the drums and grab the microphone off past singers and bands that I've played drums for. That was what that was. It was like, I need to connect with you. I need to share with you. It's a really kind of, it's not an egoic thing. It's just it's a connection thing.
Yeah.
And it's a caring thing. Like, I love it when people are together in a room. And I think I mentioned to you before we started, I do have social anxiety in big crowds.
Yeah.
That came on sort of after, it was just before COVID when I got back from Nashville. I don't do well in big crowds, but these little moments that happen, like our show, there was quite a few people there, and then when it died down, I went out into the main room and started chatting with people, and it became, you know, just a slow process, but I'm getting better with it. But that's that energy thing. Was
the anxiety just as a result of the time period that we went through with lockdowns and COVID and stuff like that? Or was it triggered as part of like all of the the unknown trauma or stuff that you'd gone through?
I think it actually started, and I mentioned earlier, we were in Nashville. I seen a guy, because there was a bar fight at one of the bars, and I saw a guy in a packed room get thrown through a window and then punched, and he was kind of like he didn't die, but he was out for quite a while, and I thought it was really confronting, and there was a lot of people around, and I automatically felt sick because the person walked off, and like it was like, go and get him, like that's like you get the police, you get, and because it was so packed with people, I think it just did something to me. So then when I got back to Melbourne, when I walked from stage and I had to get to the band room, I had to walk through the crowd. It was really hard because I used to love I could stand at a concert in a mosh pit and not have an issue. But it's slowly getting better. And I think, COVID maybe, that period maybe added to a little bit. Maybe it accentuated that feeling a little bit because we're not allowed to go near people and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it created like fear in people, right? Like
it did.
The whole, like people just got scared, and I totally get it. And like if you're immune compromised or like the mind, I think, is an interesting part of who we are because it can either create lots of challenges or it can create lots of beauty, and I think and when you see someone being thrown through a window and punched and like not get up, I guess you associate that with the level of people that were there.
Yeah.
And
it was really full on, and it's confronting. Even after everything that I've been through, like even with the crash, like that, it was kind of like, it's just really when we pick up. I think it's an energy thing because you pick up on a horrible energy there, and it affects me. And when you drive past like an accident and someone is deceased or something, like you feel. And when this is what I think today, there's a lot of those. See, this is the amazing thing, and I've learnt this about you tonight, which is a cool thing. And I think we're going to have a really long friendship because you're ace, and I know you've got heart, and it's really, I'm really comfortable. I think, and this is my opinion, I think that today there's a lot of people out there that are kind of dormant to that sort of thing. They just like, they'll just eat fast food and then throw it out the window and not care, or just whatever, that person needs to be bashed or something like that. There's this lack of compassion and human element, which has ramped up. I think, especially after COVID, I just find people are a lot more aggressive, and there is something energy-wise that people are a lot more under pressure.
They're a lot more on edge.
Yeah, it's edgy.
Yeah, they're a lot more on edge, and they get affected easier. Yeah. I mean, for fuck's sake, like the government's, like we basically got swindled into being test dummies to the largest human trial for a vaccine.
Yeah.
Like the entire globe.
Yep.
And they've just pulled a vaccine off the market recently because of the blood clotting that's been occurring. It's like, well, they knew about the blood clotting before. How come they didn't pull it off sooner? And so it's, I think, I'm okay with people taking their time to like slowly work through things, because of the impact of the time period that we've just been through, and we'll never be going through one of those ever again. Well, not in my lifetime, but I can understand.
I think that moving forward, we just need to. I think it'd be good if humans, like, there's just so much going on in the world, negative. Like, why don't we learn from the past? They write about it in songs, but but why don't we learn from the past? You don't need to have a war. Just you don't need to sort it out. And if you can't sort it out, get help. It's just like a human who has issues. I do suffer from depression. But what do? I go and talk to someone about it. I go and see a psychologist that helps me find tools so that when I do go out into public situations or close family situations or whatever it is, when I have issues, I can deal with them. And I've got the tools to deal with them. Why can't that be the same for people who run countries? And you know what I mean? Because it is fucking money talks.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's power. Because power is addictive.
Yeah.
So if they got someone like, I'll say it, Dave Grohl to run a country, I reckon he'd do a pretty good bloody job and people would be a lot happier. Because it's a mindset thing.
Yeah.
And he's a good businessman as well.
It's 100% a mindset thing.
So why do they, I don't want to harp on about politics, but why do we choose leaders who aren't compassionate and for the people? There probably are. I know that there are, I'm generalizing, but a lot of people don't really care. It's a power trip.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't solve that.
Yeah, I can't solve it either,
and we're not going to.
I think it's just been historical, the parties and money and whoever's got the most money and blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm not very political, but
it's like Scarface.
Yeah.
First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women. Is that what they said?
Yeah.
It was something stupid like that.
Yeah,
it was a good movie though.
It was a good movie.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't be Magic Mike.
But why?
Stick to playing drums and singing. Stick to writing music.
Right.
You don't need that.
Right.
But you got really fit in that year.
I think it's interesting you chose that as the advice because I think you've come full circle.
Yeah.
And you're on your path now.
Yeah.
And that's important for you, and it's important for the people around you, and it's important for your audience, and as I said, people can try lots of different things, and I have no judgment on anybody at all, right?
Yeah.
If you want to try lots of different things, that's great. Try lots of different things.
It's good to try different things.
Yeah, 100%, because then you can kind of work out what you like and what you don't like.
Yep.
That's what I did with my photography when I first started. I tried lots of different things, and I liked some things and I didn't like some things, and a mate of mine does landscape photography.
Cool.
Yeah, for him, I'd just get really bored.
Yeah, you need a moving object.
Yeah, like a human, and I tried family portraits and stuff like that, and then I was like, nah, I'm not going to do family portraits. I got my own kids, I don't want to take photos of other people's kids, and I don't want to take photos of pets, it's just too hard.
Kitty's like, well, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, nothing.
I want to be in the photos.
Yeah, nothing wrong with him. He's my rock.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then going through, and only a couple of weeks ago decided that I was going to stop doing photography because I enjoy doing other things.
Yeah.
Like this. And I think this is a really interesting space because of one, my approach, but two, it allows for a safe space for people to have discussions and tell their story. And what I found is with creatives, often they forget how much effort and work they've done to be able to get to where they are, and they don't take time to reflect, and be able to go, you know what? Yeah, like I did that thing, or I went through a hard time, but I've come through it, and it's real humbling for me to be able to have this space and be able to tell people's stories.
And I actually feel, as I said, I feel really comfortable speaking to you, and because I wasn't going to talk about the magic part of my life because there's shame attached to it.
Yeah,
but you've helped me speak about it. Yeah, and then speak about what happened afterwards and the journey afterwards. Because if people don't know that about me, it's fine; they don't need to. But it's okay because it's just part of the story. It doesn't define who I am.
Correct.
It didn't define who I was, and I was clearly not meant to be doing that. But that's what happened at that point. It's gone, and you know, and now we're speaking here tonight. And by the way, you are absolutely exceptional at this, and you need to do more of this because you're really good at it, and you're not kind of abrasive. And yeah, I could chat to you all night. And that's a sign. Like if I couldn't, it would have probably been done half an hour or an hour ago. So just keep doing that because you're bloody amazing, man.
Yeah.
You really are. And I saw it as soon as I watched Aaron's. I was like, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, we got to have a chat.
Yeah, thank you.
So, yeah, keep doing it.
Sometimes I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Particularly because I guess like no one taught me how to do this. No one taught me how to do photography. I just worked it out myself.
Yeah.
Right. And so towards the end of that phase, like I had people, like I was mentoring 4 photographers.
Oh.
And one of the first things they said to me was like, teach me how to take photos like you. Right. And I'm like, my initial response is, I don't know anything. Right. Because the minute you think you know everything is the minute you've got it wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can always learn.
Never stop learning.
Yeah. You can always learn something, you know? And so like I enjoy talking to people. And so I'm really leaning into that now. And I'm really leaning into like putting the focus back on you guys and telling your story. And, you know, I've had so much good feedback from other people about the podcasts and, you know, some of the topics of conversation and stuff like that. And then even some guests have been like, oh, I'm not really that interesting. But then my approach, I can kind of like uncover stuff. And it's like, holy shit, I had where did that come from? Like, I had no idea.
Everyone's got a story, bro.
Yeah, everyone's got a story. Like, I didn't know about your dancing thing up until like when you arrived, you know? Like, yeah.
And that's
the car crash and the, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's I'm definitely like, this is my purpose.
I'm so happy for you, man. Like isn't that freedom when that's freedom. Because that's when you know your purpose, it's like suddenly there's like a weight off your shoulders and all the other pressures are there, but then you've got like they'll come in because life throws things at you, but then you've got this and it's kind of like a centering point for you. So this is me.
It's actually so I'm a very all right, so for a long time growing up, I was very emotional. I was like a very emotional child. I like cry, you know, everything. And only 14 years ago, I worked out that I have a special skill that I can actually see people's auras. So I can see people's energy. And so in my corporate job, I developed that skill, and then I realized that it was transferable across to photography and being able to, I guess, influence people's energies so that I can get the shot that I wanted to get, right? And so I've always been a real like frequency energy type person.
Yeah.
2 years ago, when my best mate passed away, and I've mentioned this on a couple of podcasts now, but he made me his best man on his wedding day, and then 2 weeks later, he never woke up. And 6 months after his passing, I was at his parents' house, and it was on his birthday, what would have been his 44th birthday. And his parents, they said that they'd gone and seen a spiritual healer, and the spiritual healer had given them a deck of cards with a single word on each card, and that they were to pull the card out every day, one card a day, and that's the message that Christian's telling them.
Wow.
And his mum gets this deck of cards out, and she hands it around, and like his sister gets love, his auntie gets like caring. My other good mate from Perth, he got prosperity, and his mum says, "We've seen all these cards before. These are all like regular messages that Christian tells us." The deck of cards gets to me. I pull a card out, and his mum says, "We've never seen that card." The card is on my fridge and has been on my fridge since that day, and it's the word surrender. So since pulling that card, I've really tried to like listen to what the universe is kind of like telling me. And for like the first year after getting that card, there were like a couple of like key pivotal things that happened in the photography world that, were really cool, and it was great to be a part of and stuff like that. But then last year, when I started doing these interviews of models after photo shoots, like that was, I think, him kind of saying, now's your time to like move on to the next chapter of what you're supposed to do. And then I started this podcast, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. And
So what you've done is you've surrendered yourself.
Yeah.
To that's what that is.
Yeah.
That's what I would pick up from that. Isn't that amazing?
So when you listen to the universe, or when you're open enough to listen to the universe, it can tell you things, and it can like guide you. And I know he's still there, and he's I haven't heard from him in a while because I think he's happy with the direction I'm going and things like that. So it's I'll just like continue on doing that.
It's amazing, buddy. Because I picked up on your energy even just from watching some of the podcasts. Just even the shorts. And there was something, it's interesting because you mentioned it, something came over me like, I need to talk to this guy. And then I remember we got in touch like straight away. And now we're here.
Yeah.
But it's true. I've met you today, but I feel like I've known you like my whole life, and I want to hang out like after this, because yeah, man, that's purpose.
Yeah.
And it's really it sets you free.
It does.
Because you've known, it was the same thing, like you've known photography for years and you've done photography and you're like, yep, that's what I do and this is my thing. But deep down you knew there was something else. Remember that there's something else. You would have felt that. And it was the same thing with me. I'm on drums, I'm doing a great job, making a good living, but there's something else.
There is something else, but I'll tell you that off the podcast.
Yeah. That's all right. All open here.
Only because I can't announce it just yet.
Okay.
To be continued.
TBC.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I did get a haircut.
You got a haircut?
Yesterday. I had like long hair. I could put it in a ponytail.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, did you chop it off? You chopped it all off?
Yeah, I chopped it all off.
Oh, actually, I was going to say, where is it? Yeah. I have a shaved head. So I put the hat on because I've got the koala hair going on at the moment. Yeah. So
the fluff.
You got the fluff. Call it Mr. Koala hair.
Hey.
But I wear the hat. I like the hat. It's cool. I never used to wear hats.
Yeah.
And then I started getting a donut at the back of my head.
Oh.
And then I was like, I'm wearing a hat. But I'm not getting hair plugs.
Nah.
So I just shave it. I get it at 0.1 of a millimeter.
Yeah.
I go to a barber, really good barber.
Yeah.
And he does that for me. And then he does my beard as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's pretty cheap.
I had Anton.
Trevor. Yeah, I've met Anton. Used to be a big fan of the band that I played on drums years ago.
He was. I had him on the podcast.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that came here to cut my hair yesterday.
Awesome. Yeah. It's a small world.
Yeah.
Yeah, he styled, I think he styled the band back in 2010.
Yeah.
The band that I was in.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah. He is a legend. He
Yeah.
is a legend. How can people find you? How can listeners find you on social media?
If you want to jump on, so most people listen to music on Apple Music or Spotify. You just literally type in IONSKY, IONSKY, and our playlist there. We're about to get in the studio for the second round. So we released the first debut EP last year, and we put that out with some singles and film clips, and that's how we got it out there. And now we're heading back in the studio for round 2. So new music, heavier.
That's awesome.
Bit more angst.
So is it IONSKY on Instagram as well?
Yes, just IONSKY Music.
IONSKY Music, awesome. Yeah. I'll have that kind of like come up.
Yeah, IONSKY Music, and same on Facebook as well. I don't know who uses Facebook these days, but we've got it's become like you know what? Bring bloody MySpace back. Do you remember MySpace? Jeez, MySpace was the bomb.
Yeah.
Now, like, I want to go back to MySpace because
why?
It was great for bands, and you could customize your page and like put flowers on it if you wanted. If you were into that sort of thing.
Hard rock.
Yeah, hard rock.
IONSKY with flowers.
With a couple of daisies.
Cool. That's cool.
It would throw people because then they'd see the daisies on the page and then listen to the music and it'd be like, ah.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic. Well, thanks so much for coming tonight and doing the podcast with me, Mike.
You're so welcome, mate. Yeah. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me.
Fucking amazing story. I can't believe it. This journey that I'm on just keeps getting better and better.
And it's going to get even better and better and better. You watch.
Yeah.
I know it's going to. I can feel it.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening in. Make sure you hit subscribe and that notification bell, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one. See ya.